spin move. What's up, awesome peeps? I'm Brent McCluskey with Electrified Reviews, and this is the AddMotoR M-450 step-through electric bike. Okay, so hashtag real talk here, right? The first time I tried a step-through, that's a loud car. The first time that I tried a step-through electric bike, I didn't really get it. I just didn't understand like what the point of it was compared to a traditional frame. But the more that I've ridden them, the more that I've tested them, the more that I realize and really have like internalized, I think, just how easy they are to ride. Compared to a regular frame, the step-throughs, they're just so much easier to get on and off of because I don't have to swing my leg all the way over the saddle. I just go right through the middle part right there. The top tube swoops really nicely down, so it makes the standover height really low. And it makes it easy for me to basically, because I have a shorter inseam. So, you know, this bike is, this type of bike, the step-throughs, they're marketed a lot towards women, and that's fine, but, you know, I think they're really for a lot more people. They're for everybody, really, because people like me who have a shorter inseam, like a shorter standover height is really important because it allows me to place my feet flat on the ground when I'm at a rest. It just gives me that feeling of confidence that, you know, I can ride this bike, it's not going to be an issue for me. And I think a lot of people want that. You know, this kind of bike is really also good for people that might have an injury, like hip issues, knee issues, back issues, whatever. People who don't really want to be, again, swinging their leg all the way over that seat to get on the bike, they can just step through it. So you know what, let's dive into this bike right here and take a look at it a little bit closer. All right, so again, this is the AddMotoR M-450. It's a step-through electric bike. It runs for $1,600, and I want to start back here on the motor. This thing is a 500 watt, 80 newton meters of torque Bafang hub motor back here. It brings this bike up to a top speed of 25 miles per hour, which is, you know, it's pretty quick. It allows this thing to boogie. One thing I do like about this bike is, you know, it has a cadence sensor down here. It's a 12 magnet cadence sensor, which those generally have a little bit of a lag from the time they start and stop pedaling to the time the motor actually activates and deactivates. But I can override that with the throttle here just by twisting this, and it's like a way to like instantly override, so I can get going from a dead stop really quick, which is just dope. It's a nice little kind of override feature. So I think what's really cool about this bike though is the tires. I do love these fat tire bikes, man. I mean, I feel like fat tires are a huge fad right now, and you know, look, there's some good merit to them. You know, the fat tires that have a huge air volume, and it does provide a lot of suspension qualities to the bike. You know, the air volume, because of the air volume, it acts like a suspension of its own. And this thing already does have a rear seat post suspension and front spring suspension here, these Mozo forks up there. So just this extra little bit makes this for like a really cushy ride. And with the step-through, it just makes it for like a really easy, relaxed ride overall. I dig it a lot. These tires are also cool if for any reason I did want to go through like sand or snow with this thing. That large tire patch, it just means that I can go through soggy terrain a lot easier than like a regular bike. Something else I dig about this is it does have a rear rack. And it's pretty easy to install. A lot of times these aftermarket or these, you know, the accessories for the racks are kind of hard to put on, but this one only took a second, wasn't that hard at all, and it provides some serious added functionality to this bike. So now I can ride the thing through the city I can put my cargo on the back here and I can ride comfortably because I got this 100 millimeters of travel here with these with this front suspension from Mozo. I've got this seat post suspension, right? And I got those tires like I talked about. So yeah, it makes it for a sweet ride. The battery here is a 48 volt, 10.4 amp hour battery. So it's about 500 watt hours of juice, which is pretty much, you know, an average size capacity. Range is going to really depend on how I ride this thing, how heavy I am on the throttle, how fast I'm going, how much I weigh, stuff like that. But you know, around probably anywhere from 15 to 30 miles, something like that. Let's see what else. Here's something that AddMotoR does that not everybody does, and I really appreciate it. See, check out these rims, all right? So first of all, these rims look dope. They're punched out, and that just means that, see these little pieces right here, they're all punched out. That's just like shaving weight off of the rims, and it kind of shaves weight off the bike in its entirety, because this thing weighs like 55 pounds, and that's kind of heavy. So being able to cut off just any weight anywhere is great. So I dig that. Not everybody does that. AddMotoR does it a lot with their fat tire bikes. It's really cool. Let's see here. We do have mechanical disc brakes on this bike, front and rear, 180 millimeter rotors. Ba-bam. And ba-bam. That just provides a lot of stopping power. You know, not as much as hydraulic brakes, obviously, but there's plenty of stopping power on this bike, which you do want because, you know, this thing does go pretty fast, 25 miles per hour. Also, this thing does have motor inhibitors like most electric bikes nowadays. So whenever I depress the brake levers there, it's just going to instantly shut off power to the motor. Really dig that. The control center here really is kind of like my only gripe, I guess, with this thing. I just feel like it's installed backwards. Like you can see it does angle, which is cool because you can reduce glare with it, but it feels like, look, it angles the wrong way, right? Like what am I going to do with that? You know, if this was my bike and I was keeping it, I would just reverse that. Not a big deal at all, but overall, I've seen this particular display before. I really do like it. It's easy to navigate. You got the little, you know, the button pad right here, and you can switch power settings, and it's really easy, really intuitive. But you know what, let's take this thing out for a quick ride and see what it looks like in action. All right, awesome peeps, that is pretty much it for the AddMotoR M-450 review. Hope you guys did dig this review. Well, that's kind of a tongue twister. I double dare you to try to say that 10 times fast. I did dig it. Hope you did dig it. Did dig it. Right, anyways, this bike runs for $1,600 and I want to summarize, you know, who I think this is really going to work well for. That step-through frame, again, it's just going to have a lower standover height. And it's going to make it easier to get on and off this bike, which is going to be important for people like me who have a shorter inseam. It's going to allow me to keep my feet flat on the ground when I'm at a dead stop. It gives me that feeling of security and comfort, you know what I'm saying, when I'm riding at slow speeds, to know that if I need to stop suddenly, place my feet on the ground, I've got that extra stability. It's also going to work well for people who might have some health problems, some injuries that makes it a little bit more difficult for them to swing their leg over like a regular bike, right? The step through just makes it easier to step through the middle of the frame. You don't have to kick your leg all the way up. So hip injuries, knee injuries, back injuries, stuff like that, it's going to work particularly well for this. Also, because it does have these big old fat tires which provide a lot of air volume and suspension qualities, and because it does have front suspension and a seat post suspension, this is going to work pretty well for the city. It's also going to work pretty well off-road for some mild trails. So there's a lot of versatility with this bike, especially with that rear cargo rack. So anyways, that is it, guys. Hope you are having an awesome day, and I'll catch you next time.